Hello everyone, this is Bob Tremore. Today we're going to talk about Peloton Commercial. Now, admittedly, my content is a little esoteric. We've got investors, we've got people who are simply people who love Peloton, and generally I try to get right in the middle of that and try to appeal to a bit of both people, though obviously my videos are a little bit academic, so the audience is not huge. Today, it's probably even not huger. It's probably pretty small. But I like to talk about things that happen at Tremore HQ and what processes we're thinking about. I think about a lot of things on a daily basis. One of the things I've thought about for a long time is Peloton Commercial. What is its viability? What is its future? Who can it bring into the fold? Increase revenue, increase subscriptions. Well, I got a picture, a tombstone. Here lies Peloton Commercial. Together we go far into debt. 2020 to 2023. I think you can probably hint or guess at kind of where I think this is ending up. Based upon the news, the information we have at hand, let's get into it. Now, before we go too far, I have a quiz, I have a test. This first time Bob Tremore has given a test to his audience. Here we go. Are you ready? It's only one question. There is a right and a wrong answer. What is the status of Peloton's commercial efforts? You have four choices. DOA, dead on arrival. AWOL, absent without leave. SOL, I'll leave it to your vernacular intuition as to what that means. And TBD, to be determined. Which one of these accurately describes the status of Peloton's commercial efforts? Now, I thought about leaving my answer, the correct answer is what it is. Leaving the correct answer to the end of the video, but I'm not one to kind of hold things out. I want to be as transparent as possible. I give you the answer right away so you can grade mark and tell your significant other how well you did on this lengthy examination today. Here's the answer. It's DOA. It's AWOL. It's SOL. And kind of sort of TBD. That is quite the lineup we have. I wouldn't say we're successful in getting all four. Probably pretty much the opposite. So, what got us to this point? And you're going to see this theme kind of spin out throughout the presentation here. And if anyone's listening on audio, I've got a couple Lord of the Rings pictures up. How it started, how it's going. At a point in time, 2019, very early, 2020, the world was Peloton's oyster. If we go back to like very early 2020 or late 2019, organic growth was on the rise. Connected fitness was becoming common knowledge in the conversation of those who were into fitness. And here we have Smog looking at his gold, what my kingdom is, what it can be. I never have enough. I never have enough gold. I got a ton of it. I'm getting a ton of it. I want more of it. That was kind of how it started. How it's going today, February 9th, 2023, is more like Samwise Gamgee here. Am I saying that right? I think I'm close. Samwise is saying, well, what about second breakfast? Samwise, you had your first breakfast. Consider yourself lucky right now. Good for you. You're not getting a second breakfast, and it certainly ain't commercial. Oh, Samwise is not going to be happy about that. And I forget that other guy's name. Samwise and Samwise buddy. No second breakfast for you. So, what happened? A lot of this may be small, and that's okay. I explain it to you. The Peloton commercial, I think we can agree, started. The conversation started with the Precor acquisition. Now, if you can't see it here, Peloton shares soar after company announces $420 million deal to acquire Precor. This was December 21st, 2020. So this is at the, how do we phrase this? I'm not looking to get any waters a churning. So December 2020, there is not a lot of talk about an upcoming pandemic. Maybe perhaps in December 2020, there were word about some folks getting sick, but certainly nothing on a large scale as to what it turned out to be. So it is likely then, if we take contract talks for Precor back, I think we safely assume 6 months. Now we're in the middle, like July, June of 2020, and Peloton's talking to Precor. Is it perhaps a bit early for them to be doing that? Did they have an idea of the scale of what the pandemic would do to connected fitness, indoor home connected fitness? In December of 2020, when they signed the contract, no one had an idea as to the scale of what would occur. But let's just look at it even above that. $420 million deal to acquire a commercial fitness company. Precor does nothing other than sell equipment to gym, Stairmasters, treadmills, bikes, you name it. Precor sells it. This was all in commercial, no consumer. Now down here, some days I remember to change my cursor. I'm going to change it right now. Give me a second. And some days I don't. But I think I got it figured out to where at least I could do it quickly. So we're going to make it colorful. And we're going to make it big. Oh, maybe that's too big. I don't know. Anyway. These are the countries that Precor serves. Serves. We're well over 100 countries. This was smart at the time. I mean, if you're going to buy somebody in the commercial space, why not buy a player? Precor is a player. I mean, look at this other thing here. We got over 13,000 facilities across the globe. And here, look at the growth curve of global fitness equipment out to that last bar there. Is the first bar is 2023. The last bar is 2030. So this is really future looking from like right now, right today. And the growth curve is up. It is unidirectionally, directly, linearly up. So we can imagine the curve was similar back in the time when they bought Precor. Seemed like a no-brainer. People loved the consumer product. Technology was on the rise for connected fitness because connected fitness is still fairly new. There were some people out there, and Peloton had been around since technically 2014. But organic growth was finally starting to kind of spin up its wheels. No pun intended. Word of mouth was coming out. Let's get into commercial. What their aspirations were with commercial was never made evident to us. Were they going to slap Peloton screens and content on commercial equipment? Were they going to try and cross-sell the consumer equipment into the commercial lanes, into the commercial segments? We don't really know. And the fact that we don't know is a key to where we're going today. Because I don't think Peloton knew. I think they were envisioning a buttload. If we go back to Small earlier, they were envisioning a buttload of cash coming into their grimy hands. And we're like, how do we spend this cash and invest it for the future? And someone had the brilliant idea. Let's buy commercial and let's just own the planet. Let's own consumer connected fitness. Let's own, if you want to kind of think of it as a different, smaller segment, corporate wellness, which they've gotten into, I would say, lacklusterly, making up that word, and commercial. So kind of three legs to that chair. The thing is, where does Peloton stand right now? And I think it's fairly evident, but we're going to go through this and we're going to come to a conclusion. At the end of this, what is the viability? What is the future of commercial at Peloton? Because this is a huge market. This is billions and billions of dollars. Did we have a $1 billion on this slide? Probably can't see it, but we're talking like $17 billion. This is a huge market. If Peloton could take a decent size of that, Precor already has it, and they were a private company. They were owned by a conglomerate. We didn't have full transparency into their financial figures before Peloton bought them. So there's the comparison's a little bit hard to say. We believe they were slightly profitable when Peloton bought them, but it was, I think, far from a cash cow. And certainly nowadays, I think we're probably a little bit below that line. Let's keep going. So where does Peloton stand right today with commercial? In recent news, Peloton was mentioned twice in the shareholder letter, and I'm not going to bring up both citations, but we're talking essentially afterthoughts. On the earnings call that just happened, it was mentioned once. And Barry did a fairly rare thing. Usually he doesn't give an opening preamble. Most companies would give the ER, there's a big circus production opening preamble. We did one. We did. Barry relies on the shareholder letter for that, and he just jumps straight into questions. He did a little bit here. It's mostly about Leanne, but one mention of commercial. Peloton has now divorced itself from Precor. Barry has said, we acknowledge, I'm give me a little leeway here in approximating Barry's phrasing. We've been stealing talent from Precor all this time for this past 2-3 years. And we haven't been giving them anything in return. And under his breath, hinting that they've been languishing a little bit. I mean, everyone's been like, Peloton, talk about languishing, right? Precor can't be much better. And so what we're announcing today, speaking as Barry, what we're announcing today, we're acknowledging the wrongs and rights we did, and we're going to try and fix those to our ability. This is a weird solution to the problem. And he says, we're just going to cut Precor loose. We're going to stop stealing talent, and we're going to let them survive on their own. Okay, that's one way to do it. Precor has now redesigned its site to basically remove all references to Peloton. Barry has recommitted. Again, this is not portend a wonderful outcome to Precor, but we're not talking about Precor specifically here. We're talking about Peloton Commercial, but we've got to deal with a little bit of what we have, the data that we have. Barry has recommitted to selling Precor once the seller's market has come back for someone who wants to buy something like Precor. Uncorroborated rumors that I've heard, 100% uncorroborated. They bought it for $420. I've heard half that has been offered. And Peloton said no. No, thank you. Drink. Investors now have no directional indication. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this video. I think about these things. We've had this. This is kind of in present tense. We have no indication. But for 2+ years, we have had no indication of Peloton's collaboration or plans for commercial. Why is that? Is that because they're being secretive? Hold my cards close to my chest. If only you knew what my plans for commercial were. Or is it because they have no plans? The pandemic hit. A lot of stuff going on. We all know, right? It's a very busy time. After the pandemic, technically, give me some leeway here. After the pandemic, they also have some stuff going on. They got to clean up after the circus. You know what I mean? They got to go back and they're cleaning up. So they've been busy. I'll get it to you here in a second. What else do we have? This was the shareholder letter. Talk again about how it was mentioned here. Let me just read this real quick. Precor meets a significant need in the commercial marketplace. It's a well-regarded brand. But over the 2 years we've owned it, we've underinvested in its growth and its leadership team to the detriment of Precor. So again, we're talking Precor. The thing is, we're also talking commercial. We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. Peloton should have commercial in its own bucket. You know, sometimes they do pyramids of either TAMs or revenue buckets or various segments of things. Commercial should have its own layer, its own segment. Someone should be charged with that segment. And Precor can be an inhabitant of that layer and should be an inhabitant of that layer. But that layer should not be exclusive to Precor. But Peloton, through now 2 leadership, Foley and McCarthy, I think we can assume, and you've seen where I'm going here, I think they've 100% ignored it. And part of the feedback I would get is Tremore, they've had a lot to do. I get that. I get that. The thing is, there's only so many times you can pull out that excuse. We are now in 2023. Things have cleared up quite a bit. Certainly, part of it is due to Barry's efforts over the past year. Just past his 1-year anniversary. Kudos to Barry. Barry's done a very nice job doing the cost cutting, getting pseudo close to cash flow positive. You can read into that. If folks who are knowledgeable of the situation can understand that a little bit better why I say pseudo. It's the fact that Peloton has had a history of being poor multitaskers is something I'm concerned with in the past, at the present, and certainly moving into the future, because they've defined their future. They're saying we can't multitask. We can't do it. Now that a lot of that stuff has been cleaned up out of the street after the circus went by, they're still saying we can't multitask. Can't do it. Precor is just going to cut them loose, let them float out to the middle of the lake, and make sure they have some fish in line and some bait. Come back into shore when you got a lot of fish, and we'll cut you loose again to the ocean. Someone else can have you. I'm not sure that's the right tone of conversation with Precor. But again, going to the larger picture, commercial, multitask. So what are they giving up? This is from the lender presentation. And this is why I think it's not just me who's been thinking about commercial and why hasn't it been performing and why hasn't it been talked about. Going back to the lender when they were looking for some cash in May 2022. Look at some of these things. There are 800 billion global fitness wellness spend, 185 million global gym members. I mean, they were putting big numbers on this slide, but to be honest with you, I think they were more interested in the big numbers than what the big numbers meant. Because I'm now convinced at this point that Peloton, while that initial buy happened and goals were happened, dreams were dreamt, glasses were being chugged, and a happy, prodigious future they were going to have. Peloton is ignored this segment entirely. And what are we missing here? This is the lender presentation. So they're putting big numbers on one slide, and on just a few slides later, they're talking about we're going to grow our revenue. And we're doing it by some hardware price cuts. We're going to do it by some subscription price increases, parentheses tiers, and increases alone. And our go-to-market strategy, third-party retailers, international, which, again, they're doing a poor job of multitasking. At some point, we'll probably have a video on international. Fast, Barry's absolute favorite word in the entire English language. Fast. And an app revamp, that's probably tearing. What's missing there is anything related to commercial or corporate wellness. Zero. So in May 2022, we'd already knew by performance that they were ignoring commercial. Here, in what they're telling lenders is, by omission, we don't care about commercial. Or at least it is not hitting the radar enough to hit this slide. If I really believed in it, if I thought a commercial could be a multi-billion opportunity, which I do, I would have put it here underneath this red thing. Commercial, Jack. We own one of the big players in commercial, Jack. Watch the Jack roll in. Jack, enough Jacks. Yeah. Peloton. It leads to the question, what did these folks do? I follow Peloton very closely. I have a feeling most of those in the audience who are watching this right now are like, I'm watching this because I really don't know much about Peloton Commercial. Or I knew a little bit, but I want to hear what Bob has to say. I follow a lot of things about Peloton fairly closely. This is just a sampling. I archive all this stuff. It's meaningless, but I archive it anyway. Look at all these commercial guys. And we're a North America guy, a London guy, an Australian guy, all dedicated to commercial. And what has come out of it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad that none of us know? Is it so bad that just avoiding the topic entirely is the right course of business? And the fact is, we know how big the segment is. So it's not like we made a misstep and we're going to correct our errors. That the segment's still out there. It's still generating billions and billions and billions of dollars in revenue. We're gonna tack to the left, or we're gonna tack to the right, and we're gonna hit that buoy. No, they're turning their boat around. Barry loves his boat analogies. Last time it was Titanic, or it takes a big circle to move the battleship around, or something like that. So I'm using tack and buoys, trying to get in the zone. Now he's turning around his boat. He's going back to the dock. Why? Multitask. It's hard. I know it's hard. That's why shareholders, the board of directors, and customers are paying you to do the hard stuff. And you've done a great job over the last year. Hopefully this will be the last time I say this. Done a great job over the last year. The thing is, you've overcome the biggest hill. So why are you cutting anchors on other potential lines of revenue? Corporate wellness is doing, no one talks about corporate wellness either. A little bit. I mean, for every one time you hear about commercial, which is never, you hear at least 10 times corporate wellness, and then, a gajillion consumer. So where the scale is logarithmically, exponentially, you got two down here at the bottom. We're just making just 1 pixel above the horizontal axis. And then you've got consumer cameras. Who knows where the camera is? Oh, Peloton. Let's listen to Barry. Let's see what he has had to say as recently as last week on the earnings call. Here we go.
And then lastly, with respect to the app, I think of it as its own end game. And maybe it will feed the all access subscription hardware business, or maybe not. I don't really care. The end goal for that strategy is to expand the TAM by reaching a user base that historically we've not been able to access, to do it with our core strength, which is all of the content and the user experience that our instructors give life to, and to enable consumers to use that content on competitive hardware.
Competitive hardware. This is at least the second time he's mentioned this over a period of time. Probably mentioned it here and there a little bit more. But big second time he's mentioned this. What competitive hardware? You had in-house, you still have technically, a major manufacturer for commercial equipment with their own monitors on the screens running Priva. At any point, Peloton could have put the Peloton platform, 2 Ps. That's what they call it in their internal documents. The Peloton platform. That's what we see when we sign into our bike or tread or row. Onto Precor, or at least made plans for it. Now, it's obviously not necessarily competitive, but come on. Why even deal with competitors when you're selling millions of these units out of Precor? But let's take it one step further. Let's assume Barry is actually being truthful. Oh, I know he's being truthful. He's being sincere about this. Show me the path to putting Peloton platform on competitive hardware, consumer or commercial. Show me the path. Because I don't see it. Why are we talking about stuff like this and not talking about commercial or corporate wellness? Because there are two options. There are two forks in the road. There's one fork in the road, 2 paths. That's how you do it. One is find something like Bowflex, SoulCycle, Beachbody, Echelon, who sell their own bikes and have their own screens and have their own content delivery systems. Journey, iFit, whatever it is, whatever else it's called, Beachbody bike interface, and say, content is expensive. We're doing it. We're doing it better than anyone else. 100% true. Let us put Peloton on your platform. Who at Bowflex is going to say, yeah, that's a great idea? Let's get Peloton's brand name into our equipment. And then our consumers are going to see that and be like, why am I even buying a Bowflex? They're giving me Peloton content. I'm not on the leaderboard. All I have to do is, I'm already getting the content. Let me just buy the bike and get leaderboard. Well, why am I even bothering? That's one path. It doesn't make any sense to me. The other path makes equally little sense. Why would manufacturers, or why would it doesn't, yeah, I'm struggling with what my second point is. I had two. I had two roads. I had two directions. I got to be completely honest with you. I forgot what my second point was. There are two roads. Neither of them make sense. I guarantee you this because I thought about this earlier. And now I've forgotten what the second point is. Stuff happens. Sorry, guys. If I think about it later, I'll bring it up. Oh, I want to think about it. I want to think about it right now, but I can't. I got to keep moving forward. Bowflex and whatnot, and it's just not coming to me. Let's go to Barry's number two thing.
Again with Precor. When I think it was in my first earnings call with investors, I said, look, strategy is about choice. And our choice is to commit ourselves to connected fitness. So if it's not connected fitness, we're not doing it. And that begs the question, well, okay, where does Precor fit and why are you doing it? And we had.
Precor has, albeit a junior, they have a pseudo connected fitness. It's not one of these LED screens where you see the bubbles where it shows you're doing 9 miles per hour that drive connected fitness people insane, where it's, all you have is an up arrow and down arrow to slow things down. And you've got this little bubble LED screen that just shows you poorly defined numbers. There's no monitor. Precor has monitors. Why are we giving up on this so easily? Barry, you have Precor. And you just talked about getting it on other people's hardware. This connected fitness thing. Again, show me the path. He's saying it's not the path. They spent $420 million. My argument is put a little effort into it, because I don't think any effort has been put into it. Let's continue.
And, the worst kept secret on the planet is that we've been exploring the sale of Precor. And we got pretty far down the path, and then the price that the buyer was willing to pay dramatically dropped, and we walked away from the table. I mean, at some point it crosses the stupid line to the point where you're just not willing to dance anymore, and that happened for us.
So they gave up on selling Precor. So they are now demoting it to redheaded stepchild status, and thus seemingly giving up the commercial layer of our TAM pyramid. Barry has a growth path. Let me say that again. It's very important the way I phrased that. Barry has a growth path. Those who've watched my other videos know exactly what goes in there. Digital. I have no argument with that. I have no argument with the digital. I have an argument with a growth path. We talked about corporate wellness doing so-so at best. We talked about commercial being not addressed at all. We are putting all of our lottery tickets into one bucket. That is a terrible analogy. I don't know what I was shooting for there, but I didn't hit it. Everything's going in one bucket. Digital. Because this isn't, I'm trying to stay on topic, but the international things, the competitive hardware, it drives me nuts. And I'm still thinking about the second one. If it comes to me, I'm going to say it. International, he was asked up on the call. I'm not going to go over it here. But he said, I don't know. Give me 3 months to think about it. Maybe we're going to go to Western Europe next, which I'm assuming is like Italy, Spain, stuff like that. But we're going to focus on digital. We're not going to focus on hardware. You guys got all the hardware you need. We're not giving any more hardware. You got a row, you got a tread, you got a bike. What possibly could they be working on next? They're not going to do a Peloton Stairmaster. They're not going to do a Peloton elliptical. So 2023, there's no hardware. Various hint that 2023 may see a small international rollout for digital. But everything else just simply relies on digital software, which again is great, but all your eggs in one carton, man, it's just not hitting me today. Whatever it is, they're not hatching? I don't know. What do we got next? We got this one. A little bit longer, but
for all of the time that we have owned it, we've done nothing to invest in the performance of the business to its own detriment. And we've done a reasonable job of kind of running it for our benefit, including sucking some talent out of it into our own hardware business. It was good for us, bad for them. So we're going to reverse course. I think we understand how to add some incremental value without great expense and have a disproportionate increase in the value of the business. And the overarching strategy would be to run Precor for the benefit of Precor and to not dilute those efforts for the benefit of our own operating business. Run it as a freestanding subsidiary. And so that's the path we're on. And when we see success, we will see a dramatic increase in its market value. And then, unless we have a shift in strategy or they have a shift in their product strategy, at some point, we would look to divest.
All right. So just more bad news. And someone could say, and legitimately, Bob, there's a lot of Precor talk here and very little commercial talk. We went around to that layer. Precor should be inhabitant of commercial. The thing is, they're not talking about an entire layer at all. All they can talk about is Precor, and they don't even mention the word commercial. It's like a banned word at Peloton. Your TAM is already in trouble in the 5 countries you serve for connected fitness. You've said also on this call that your marketing efforts in the upcoming 12 months, in response to a question on the call, are going to be only what is needed. So I said on a previous call, Barry has done a nice year 1, but year 2 has me concerned. This has me concerned. Because we've got a laser focus on digital. And if that digital doesn't deliver, there's no backup plan. This is such a rich segment. And Peloton has a key to open the door. Never use that key. It might have gotten lost. When they signed the paperwork, sometimes they give keys to the house and you got a whole keychain. It's awesome. And you go in the house once to look around. It's fantastic. And you go back to your old house and start packing up boxes and whatnot. Meanwhile, you lose the keys. Peloton lost the keys. They don't know what to do with commercial. Oh, Barry, you're killing me on this one. So they've got some gym penetration. Whoa. Not so fast. Whoa, let's settle down. I said some gym, not so fast. We've all seen these photos. Working out, and they've done some hotel rooms and hospitality stuff. They've gotten into some like hotel gyms, condo gyms, maybe even a handful of proper gyms. I wouldn't say it's a commercial effort. It is a commercial effort. Low level. Commercial. Easy pickings. I mean, literally, you know, and we're talking about picking apples off the trees. We're picking apples off the ground. The few that fell early in the season for apple picking, orchard, out in your orchard. Very early in the season, only a handful are down. We pick those up, put them in our bag, walk away. Those ones up in the tree, they're hard to get. Ooh, very hard to get. I have to go get a ladder, maybe put my gloves on, maybe bring out the gator four-wheeler. Lots of bags. Yes. Sweat on the brow. Too much. They've got these. What's this not so fast stuff? Little known fact. Here's a little tidbit. Not a major point of the presentation. You know this? Tread lightly. If you can't read this, let me read it. Well, no, I'll do it in under 10 seconds, I promise. Can the tread be purchased in a multi-user gym, amenity, or any recreational space? The answer, this is part of an FAQ. The Peloton tread may not be purchased for use in a multi-user public or common area, which include but are not limited to hotels, corporate wellness facilities, office buildings, gym, recreational spaces, multi-family residential complexes. Any use of a tread in a commercial setting, as we have defined, will void your warranty and is simply not allowed. Full ban. I don't think a lot of people were aware of this. And if we go back to here, that's why I showed these pictures. Subconsciously, now in hindsight, when you've seen pictures like this, are you like, you know what? Come to think of it, I haven't seen treads, tread pluses, treads, whatever, in commercial settings. I've seen bikes, not treads. There's a reason for it. It's this reason. The question is, why? I don't know. I don't think it's to do with the safety recall. I think this is old news. I think this is something someone decided back in the day, and it's still around. Why? If anyone's watching from Peloton, send me a DM on Twitter. I'd love to know why. Treads, why? There are plenty of treads in every gym I've been to. In fact, the tread is the single most populous machine. So why does Peloton have a rider that says nope? You can buy our bikes. I don't know about the rows. If I had to guess, no, I'm not even going to guess. We know about the bikes. Bikes are good. Treads, camera, bet. Interesting. Why? If anyone, any of you know, let me know. So, Peloton wanted consumer and commercial. God bless this kid. Every time I see him, I laugh. But he's a little distracted, so let me turn him off. You get the idea. They wanted consumer and commercial. Peloton decided they had to choose. Why did they feel the need they had to choose? And ultimately, to what end? We're in the home stretch, folks. Maybe another test. There's not, but maybe another test. Stay tuned. The answer to why is pretty easy. The council. Oh, we've got some more Lord of the Rings content here. Squeezed it in. Well, barely, but we squeezed it in. The why is quite easy to answer, and that chart, it's got lots of stuff on it, but it's a revenue chart. It's not great. It's getting better, but it hasn't been great. And the fact is, Peloton had so many things to worry about over the last year and a half, 2 years, that they felt they had to focus, probably justly, on one thing and one thing alone, and that is cost cutting and getting as many bikes into the population as possible and getting the LTV money, which LTV money is what I care most about if you watched any of my videos. I wish they would almost give away the bikes, to be honest with you. So the Council of Elrond, made up of JPM, JP Morgan, Citi, Goldman, Credit Suisse, Bank of America, Baird, They were the market and obviousness was dictating that they had to focus on the issue at hand, and that was the cost. The thing is, barrier two, that's where we're at. And barrier two, one of the first flanks of the platform. Planks? Flanks? Planks? Yeah. Of the platform. Planks. Cut commercial loose, we give up. What are you talking about? What are you? And that leads us. We did the why choose. The why choose is the market dictated it. We had to do it to stay alive. And to what end is again further is to simply survive. We had a choice to make. We keep the ring or we throw it into the fires of Mount Doom. Fortunately, Barry said we gotta throw it in the fires of Mount Doom. Can't be greedy. Can't just choose death and whatever destruction. We gotta choose life. So we're gonna spend a year belt tightening, cutting costs, doing various programs. The one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to multitask. That competitive thing, yeah, between you and me, I'm still thinking about what that second path is on getting software and competitive. It's going to bug me until I remember it. To what end? So where are we going? What is the path according to Bob Tremor? That's me. Is Peloton abandoning commercial? Abandoning, my friends, implies an effort was made. Peloton never competed. They never tried to compete. Peloton is quitting commercial. So there's going to be very few commercial videos after this, according to what I foresee, according to what I forecast. This is the one and only commercial video for the near term. In near term, frankly, I'm like out 3 to 5 years. We're done. We didn't abandon it. It's like me walking around now. I introduce myself. Hello, I'm at a dinner party, at a cocktail party, maybe even. I'm like, I'm Bob Tremor. I'm the husband of lovely Mrs. Tremor, and I abandoned a career in Major League Baseball. Happy to meet you. The truth is, I had no skills to ever play Major League Baseball. Me saying I abandoned Major League Baseball is simply false. I never competed. I never had the ability to compete. Peloton had the ability. I never tried to compete to be a Major League Baseball player. Peloton is quitting. They are not abandoning. They are not deserting. They were never on the field of play for commercial. Why? I don't know. Pick the hard apples. Pick the hard ones. Last slide, folks. We're here. So will Peloton try again for commercial? No. Not anytime soon. It's a failed quest, my friends. So the paths to revenue are smaller now. Commercial is no longer a viable path. We have digital, we have consumer, but no new hardware that we're aware of. Though to be completely honest, I still see jobs listings for NPIs, which is new product introductions. They still have their skunkworks in Syracuse doing something. I can't imagine what it is because I don't think they're going to enter the tonal wars at this point. Guide, maybe they're going to make guide version 2. I don't know. I know they have some stuff planned for software. I actually know that. I have some stuff I wish I could disclose. I can't do it at this point in time. So they have plans for software and the gamification stuff. Big plans. They just did I did a tweet the other day about their plans about gamification. They're hiring for multiplayer. So the software and digital, everything like that has big plans. But commercial and corporate wellness, they're going to keep limping along with corporate wellness. But the end of this video is commercial. This is what the video was about, commercial. Where are they going to go with commercial? They're not going anywhere. It's done. Your marshmallow is burnt. Give this more to the kid who doesn't care. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll talk to you later.